What's up everybody, we're back again, and today we're looking at the many beefs of the underground. But don't look at this video as an all-encompassing look into every beef that has ever went down in the underground, because of course that would be impossible. There's a million little artists going back and forth every day on Instagram. There's people who have trouble at shows, there's people who have in real life problems, fights. There's probably a million people that I could cover in these videos, so I think I might turn this into a series. But for now, we're just going to look at a serving platter of different artists and the problem that they had with other artists. And I also want to look into the more obscure beefs, because I don't want this to just be another Patrick CC clone channel where I talk about Trippie Redd versus 6ix9ine or X versus 6ix9ine, even though, I've already kind of talked about that, so I've fallen for the trap. But, this is going to be the underground beefs. There's going to be some famous artists here, but it's not just going to be your average stuff, so let's get into it. And to start off, we got our boys Zilla and Sos, because these boys just can't seem to stop beefing, but to be fair, this time they're pretty minute. First, we're going to look at Sos and the problem that he had with an artist known as Hex Angel. Hex made this song called Gimme That, and then a few years later, SosMula also came out with a track known as Gimme That, and Hex claims that Sos actually stole the song. The producer of the track claims that the song was actually made before Hex Angel ever dropped his version, so there's no way that SosMula could have stolen it, but Hex Angel really wasn't happy about that, and he said that he would give me evidence proving that SosMula actually stole it in the first place. So if he actually gives me that, I'll put it right here and I'll read it out. If not, then well, maybe in the next video. Okay, so I was looking at his old post after editing this, and it turns out that SosMula actually does follow him, as well as him having a couple interactions with SosMula, so it's definitely possible that it happened the way he said it did. Could have been a mess up, could just be a coincidence, but who really knows at this point. But I'll let you guys decide what you think, but I'll show you all this right here. It's up to you to decide. But now that we got Sos over and done with, we got Zillakami, and he's beefing with an artist you may know known as Lil Nar. So these two actually worked together at one point. They made the track Man Down together back in 2018 when Nar was still running with that trap metal style, but eventually he would turn into the more Atlanta style. So if you want to check out that video, I actually did one on Lil Nar, so there's more information about that there. But at the time, being part of that scene, he started flexing up with a rocket launcher, and if you know Zilla, you know he doesn't like people taking his style, his face tattoos, and of course he doesn't like people copying his rocket launcher. So he decided to call out Nar on his story, calling him a copycat. Unfortunately, there's no proof of that story existing because it got deleted, but I definitely remember it happening. But the weirdest thing about this situation is there was actually an artist before Zilla that was flexing with a rocket launcher known as Scarlxrd, who was actually connected to Zilla. You can see some pictures of the two of them together in the old Scum Squad days, and when 6ix9ine was around, Scarlxrd was friends with him, and then eventually the group broke up and Scarlxrd decided to go along with 6ix9ine. He's actually the whole reason that 6ix9ine got on No Jumper, because he had a viral moment where he took a picture of him with a bunch of lean bottles with his hand up this girl's butt in a hot tub, and then he put it on a tote bag, and then that got him on No Jumper. 6ix9ine came along, formed that connection. But anyways, this is talking about Zilla and his problems, so let's get into that. So apparently Scarlxrd had this whole decommissioned rocket launcher, and that's the one that Zillakami was actually flexing up with in the first place. And because of these pictures that Zillakami kept posting, apparently the cops would show up to Scarlxrd's house, break down his door, and confiscate the rocket launcher, although Zillakami claims that it was actually Scarlxrd who called the cops on Zillakami to get the rocket launcher taken away. And funnily enough, Scarlxrd would actually mention this event in the song Zeta Zero, saying they're looking for the what? They're looking for the rocket. But we don't really know who's telling the truth in this situation. A lot of people think it's Zilla, but who really knows? And the final weird part of this situation is that Lil Nar actually got in trouble on DJ Academic's page because a bunch of people started sharing and talking about how he was I don't know if I can say this word on YouTube, but those guys who like to see things blow up and they like to commit a little bit of terror. I think you know what I'm talking about. They caused the apocalypse in the first place. And funnily enough, he actually had to come out and say that he wasn't one of those. It's kind of funny that people thought that in the first place, because seriously, how would he be that? But yeah, that's the whole rocket launcher story from Zillakami, Scarlxrd, and Lil Nar. So any of you little channels looking for a come up, here you go. The many rocket launchers of City Morgue. There you go. Video idea for you right now. Patent it and put it out. So moving on from Big Boy Zilla, we got the other big player in the trap metal scene known as Scarlxrd. I think a lot of you probably know who that is. And it turns out this guy actually has a problem with a guy named Projects, or apparently Projects has a problem with him. They used to work together. They had a couple songs, but they never ended up coming out. But it's that classic story of two people working together and then one of them blows up, being Scarlxrd with his song Heart Attack, and then he never talks to him again. It's that whole riffraff situation. I just want to blow up and become famous and act like I don't know nobody. That's what Scarlxrd's doing here.
My main goal is to blow up and then act like I don't know nobody.
So it's a couple years later, Projects is feeling kind of burnt, and he says, Scarlxrd, you know, I'm going to post our DMs, I'm going to post me talking to you on FaceTime call and prove to everybody that we actually used to talk. He posted these screenshots here. My bad on the exact timeline of these, I'm not sure exactly the order they were posted, but we got some sad boy stuff here saying friends become famous and forget about the ones who were there before the fame. I won't name drop, but when I was in a pretty low point sometime last year, I reached out to my famous friend, willing to pay $2K for a verse. I wore my heart on my sleeve and told him it would really help. Just got left on red. I just really be feeling alone with his music shit. And then he goes on to say, all my fans who are mutual fans of Scar, I sent him a DM asking to talk. Most likely he won't see it, but I realized in 2018 I actually tried to reconcile shit with him. I guess I forgot about that. But all the bitterness is gone, to be honest. We both do our own thing. It's not even about the music. It's about extinguishing any remaining negativity there is. He then shows a screenshot of him on Scarlxrd's live saying, we still doing something? And then I guess a bunch of fans were calling him out for trying to clout chase, so he says, I love y'all, but some of y'all are really stupid, lol. I'm not crying in my last post. You really gonna call being positive crying? Must have a few chromosomes missing. Nothing wrong with wanting to be positive, especially with someone who was once a good friend. He then posted a picture of the two of them together on FaceTime saying, for people who think he doesn't know who I am, lol, like I've been telling y'all, he was my bro. Now I'm gonna be honest with you, I know a lot of people are taking this as clout chasing or him trying to get back at Scarlxrd, but I really do think that maybe he was just hurt. He thought there was more of a friendship there than there really was. He probably wasn't feeling the best, decided to post something kind of positive on his story that came off as a little bit of a diss, and then people started calling him out, so he felt like he really had to prove that they were actually friends. And of course it just goes to show you shouldn't really interact with people online in your comment section because they're going to call you out no matter what. But unfortunately it seems like there's been no reconnection with Scarlxrd and Projects, and this actually also happened with Nazi. When I talked to him in my interview, he also mentioned how he was friends with Scarlxrd, and then after he got famous he never talked to him again. I think Scarlxrd said it was more of a business transaction, but the one weird thing about that story is that apparently Scarlxrd and Nazi had a show together after he got famous, and he didn't even acknowledge that Nazi exists. But at the end of the day, I'm going to leave it up to you guys to decide. Do you think that Scarlxrd actually is a bad guy who cut them off, they were close friends, and then he got famous and just kind of pretended like he didn't know them no more? Or was it really just a business transaction for Scarlxrd that these guys just looked into a little bit too deep? I mean, this can happen when people blow up. They end up having to leave people behind. They can't bring everybody with them, but then the people who get left behind feel bad about it. It's not necessarily clout chasing, but you can feel a little bit burnt if you feel like you had a friendship with somebody and then they get famous and all of a sudden they don't talk to you anymore. I'm conflicted. I can see both sides of it, so let me know what you think in the comments below. So when it comes to people switching up once money gets involved, we have another beef between Ouija Macc and a guy known as Choirboy Dank. The two of them were in a group together back in the day known as Swag Tooth, which was a pretty prolific group. They worked with Cold Blooded, they had songs with Little Soda Boy, they worked with the Suicide Boys, they even had a video with them where they were actually playing with puppets, kind of interesting. They also got a video where they were naked, so that one's kind of weird, but yeah, they were a pretty big group. And because of their influence, they were able to get a deal with Psychopathic Records, which, don't kill me here, but I'm pretty sure the ICP run that record label, or at least they're signed to them. And this was a joint deal where both members were supposed to get a 50-50 split, but apparently Choirboy Dank wanted to work on the album a little bit longer, put one more out before they got signed, but then Ouija Macc decided to go behind his back while he was mixing and mastering and signed a solo deal. And then of course, Ouija Macc gets in with the Juggalos, becomes a huge artist, and Choirboy Dank is left behind. Choirboy Dank has talked about this a couple times online. He replied to a comment here saying, nah, Ouija just a snake that secured a deal for himself after it was offered to both of us, and later on we both decided to wait to sign till our latest album was released. While I was mixing and mastering it, he went behind my back and surely told him a bunch of lies to get his whack ass signed. He's also mentioned him here saying Ouija stole money from me and lied to me hella times and took a deal that was offered to both of us. I'm sure he lied to Jay to get it. He talked shit on his new best friend for years, said Light was so whack many times. Now he's licking his dick like he does with anyone he thinks can help him, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. Now all the Scruggalos with some deadbeat dicks in your mouth, shut the up. Okay, damn dude. And I'm pretty sure there's a bunch more of these scattered all over the internet. I couldn't find them all, but that's a couple just to give you the tip of the iceberg like he said. And he even dropped a diss track on Ouija called Dead Homies, and weirdly enough, Ouija also has a track called Dead Homies that came out after. So it's possible he made that diss track to try to cover up the search results so people can't find the diss track on him. But either way, it seems like they fell out, and there's probably a lot more to this story, so maybe I'll come back to it later if I can actually talk to either Ouija Macc or Choirboy Dank. But yeah, this situation seems to be a little bit more serious than the last. It seems like both members really dislike each other, and there's a lot of allegations floating around of stealing, screwing each other over, so there's probably a lot more to the story, but for now I'll just leave it at that. And just to mention this here, I've seen your guys' comments on my little Pink interview saying that I should have mentioned the fact that he had beef with the Insane Clown Posse as well, and I feel like I might just do a full-on video on Lil Pink, so if you want to see that, let me know. But yeah, sorry I didn't ask that, I didn't know about it at the time, but it's definitely an interesting story and I think I can dig up more about it. Okay, so I don't really have a good segue for this one, but we're talking about Spider Gang and the members known as XXXTentacion Christ Dillinger and A14 and the little minor beef they had pretty recently actually. So recently Christ dropped this album known as Bass Negative Squad, hosted by DJ Smokey and Shadow Wizard Money Gang, and the other member A14 was pretty heavily featured on this project, so he decided to give his friend a little bit of constructive criticism and say that the album wasn't bad, but it would have been better if it didn't have all the weird DJ breaks where basically they stopped the beat and stopped the song to kind of add this effect of it being an actual DJ song. If that makes sense, I hope I said that right, but basically Christ was not very happy about that, and he decided to call out A14 on his own story, going live on Instagram saying basically, what the heck, why are you going against me? Anybody in Spider Gang who hasn't called him out, you're fake.
A14 dissed me on his story, so it's fuck him. If you were in Spider Gang or you're in Spider Gang and I told you A14 dissed me and you said nothing about it, it's fuck you too. And anyone that fucks with that nigga is fuck you too. So now we just put it all out there into the open. Since I'm crazy, let it be known that I'm crazy. Niggas want to hop on their Instagram story and tell niggas not to bump my album? Cool, go ahead. Suck my dick. Go ahead, nigga.
And this actually led A14 to drop a full-on diss track on Christ Dillinger before then deleting it like 8 hours later. So I'm feeling like all of this was just promotion for the album. I feel like it was fake. They weren't actually mad at each other. I mean, maybe it was a real beef, and if it was, it kind of brings up the point. If you have a problem with your buddy's album, maybe you could just DM him. You don't really have to put it out publicly. I mean, I do get it. You're just trying to give him some criticism. You probably didn't think he would take it so hard, or maybe you thought if you went in his DMs, he might have got offended. So putting it on your story is kind of like saying, you know what, I just want to give a little bit of criticism, but it's not that deep. I don't really want to have a big back and forth. But yeah, Christ did not take that well, and I'm not sure if the two are good now. If it was fake beef, they definitely are. If it wasn't, well, who really knows? But yeah, it's just kind of a funny little situation overall. And finally, we come to the beef between XXXTentacion and Fukkit of Midnight Society, and at one point, members only. So basically, from what I found, Fukkit used to be part of this group with Wi-Fi's Funeral and another guy named Solomon the God, or Kill Solomon, something like that. And this guy's kind of interesting on his own because he actually worked with, of course, Wi-Fi and Fukkit, and then after that, he went on to make a song with 83 Hades, and then he even worked with No Lives Matter, you know, Vythe and Quake and all of them pretty recently. So he's definitely been around the game, but in terms of this story, he's really not that important. He gets one mention from X, so I wanted you guys to kind of know who he was, but besides that, yeah, he's not that important. But anyways, it was through that group with Solomon, Fukkit, and Wi-Fi's Funeral that X was able to discover Fukkit, actually before he even knew Wi-Fi's Funeral. He tweeted out he wanted to get in contact, and then the two ended up teasing a song together before X announced that Fukkit was going to become a full-on member of Members Only. They teased a song called I Won't Break, and then X brings both Ski Mask and Fukkit out to crowd control, and he even calls them both his partners at one point. X even says that he loves Fukkit, and then he gets a couple features on Members Only Volume 2. For the next couple months, X ends up posting a couple of Fukkit songs on his Twitter, promoting them, even promoting a live performance, but it seems like things start to go wrong when Fukkit and Chris Travis end up posting up together at a show, or at least that's what we think it is because it was deleted later on, but X definitely wasn't happy, replying, delete this right now, and I guess Fukkit listened. And if you're wondering why X doesn't like Chris Travis, it's because there was this producer known as the Virus and the Antidote. We don't really know if it's two people or one. I think it's one, and he gave a beat to X for his song Gnarly Bastard, but then after that he ended up giving it to Bones. So X had already full on released the song, it was a hit, it was going up in numbers, but after that Bones and Chris Travis end up putting out a song called We Up, and it kind of takes the momentum away from Gnarly Bastard. And let me tell you, there's a lot of fuckery when it comes to X and his beats early on, and maybe I'll mention that a little bit later because he never really bought beats. There's a lot of supposed stolen stuff and a lot of, you know, reusing the same beats, taking other people's beats, a lot of that type of stuff. But for this video, all you gotta know is that him and Chris Travis were not cool. But for the next month, there was no issues, and Fukkit even dropped a remix of Sipping Tea in Your Hood with X, so it seems like they were still cool, but then randomly out of nowhere, X started calling out Fukkit, and then he kicked him out of Members Only. Not long after that, he ended up joining Midnight Society, and if you don't know, Black Sand also doesn't like X because apparently X took one of his beats and did a freestyle over it, calling it White Girl, and Black Sand really didn't like that. He mentions it after X passed away right here. He basically says that X took one of his beats and did a lame freestyle over it, and he doesn't mess with it, but everybody else likes it. And like I said, once again, there's a lot of beat fuckery when it comes to X early on, but soon after that, Fukkit would join up with them, and all the members would start going at X. Now, I'm pretty sure the main reason that Fukkit doesn't like X is because of the whole abuse case and X going to jail for, you know, hitting a woman or whatever happened there. I don't really want to get into that. But whether anyone believes it, it seems like Fukkit definitely did, so he would start doing diss tracks on him with Black Sand, and here they are. You got Kamiyata starting off with To Kill a Wolf.
Okay, I'm like, bitch. You must not know who I am, I'm the god of the space.
And then you have Fukkit and Kamiyata. They drop a diss called Face in the Soil. After that, you got one called Natural Selection. And then after that, we got one that actually dropped in June of 2018, about like 10 days before X passed away, called Flashbang. A lot of fans saw this one as super disrespectful. Sure, it came out before X passed away, but a lot of people thought it should be taken down because there's no point in dissing him after he passed away, but Fukkit kept it up and kept promoting it. Personally, I'm not really sure how to feel about it. The song's super hard and I really like it, and I feel like, you know, the beef happened. There's no point in trying to cover it up and pretend like they were best buddies. There's no way to really, you know, fix that connection now that X has passed away. And there was even supposed to be a track with Fukkit, Ski Mask, and X called Caution, where the producer said it was never completed, but apparently Fukkit said he actually recorded his verse. Ski Mask never spoke on the song, so we're not sure if his verse is on it. The reason the producer said that is that at the time X wasn't really working closely with producers, so it's possible the verse came out but the producer wasn't aware of it. But the weirdest part of this whole situation is on July 21st, 2023, Kamiyata actually dropped a song called Raw, in which he actually dissed Haunted Mound, and then he shouted out XXXTentacion in the same song. And I mean, I guess I respect that. Game knows game, and maybe he just respects him in a musical sense and wants to let everybody know that the beef is gone. I mean, this happened in like 2015, 2016. They were fighting over a beat, so it's probably not that deep, but definitely strange and also interesting that he would even mention Haunted Mound in the first place. But with that being said, that is the end of Fukkit versus XXXTentacion. I'm sure I said Fukkit so many times that this video is not going to get monetized, and there's a dog barking out my window, so hopefully that doesn't pick up in the audio. But for now, that's the mini beefs of the underground, and like I said, I want to turn this into a series, so if there's anybody else that I should mention in the next video, let me know. Any beefs I should dive into, and of course I'm still going to do dedicated videos, and I might even do the many beefs of XXXTentacion if you ask me really nicely. Subscribe to the channel, check out the second channel, we got Twisted Society where that little pink interview is that I mentioned earlier, and if you want to give me a buck on Patreon, you could also do that. It really helps the channel out. Like I said, it helps me put out videos faster so I don't have to worry about getting monetized. But besides that, just thank you for watching. Let me know what you want to see next. Make sure to comment a knife below for Knife Gang, and now that I've asked you to do 10 million things, I just want to say thank you for watching. Free Burn Kaz, and that's all I gotta say. Bye.